can you define personal growth? Like what does that actually mean?
I'll go like a little bit deep here, but I think that ultimately each of us has most of the answers in our inside of us, in our intuition. Like I think we have this compass, and you could call it your intuition, your soul, whatever that is. That's incredibly powerful. It's like our own LLM, right? It's taken every experience and every input we've ever had, and it's storing all this, and it has all the answers. And so I think a lot of personal growth is understanding what that intuition is telling you, and spending the space and time to really understand what it's saying, and getting out of your head, which is a lot of times confusing things, and then having the courage to go do what it says. That's probably my highest level of personal growth, because I think if you can do that over and over, you'll sort of self-actualize and become the best version of yourself, for lack of a better word. And then there's a whole bunch of things underneath that to try to make that happen.
What are some of those things?
Being really intentional about your life, figuring out what does a successful life look like for you in all your different areas, and really spending time on that and designing it, and then having a practice where you're working toward that, almost on a daily basis.
Is there an episode of the second part of the description, courage? It's a key word, it seems like, that stands out in your memory. Like, what does that mean in practice for you? What's a time that you felt like a thing your intuition told you, and then it required courage, which is a big word.
I'll tell you like a really early one. This is the first one that came to mind when you just asked the question, but as an early one. So I'm in Toledo, Ohio, and to be the popular and be the cool kids, they didn't care at all about school. A lot of them were drinking, doing drugs. They were some of them just really weren't nice kids. They were bullies in many cases. They were like the athlete group, and I just remember that just didn't feel natural. That took a lot of courage for me to separate myself, because I could have been in that popular group, but I chose a different path. And at 12 or 13, that took a tremendous amount of courage, and isolated me in a very short period of time. Realized that was the right call, and that gave me just so much confidence in listening to that gut from then on. I still try to tap into that, but I think at a pretty early age, I just got a sense of like how powerful it was to just listen to that voice.
Mm-hmm. If we have this amazing onboard intuition LLM, and then courage we can learn, or something over time, it seems like the other key step here is asking the right question of the intuition. I'm curious about two things: what you've learned about that part, like how to get to good questions. And then I'm also curious, like zoom into today, what those questions are for you today.
Your head is a really powerful tool. It'll talk you out of a lot of things. Three really simple ones that I think, so first off, to get into your intuition, a lot of times it's meditating, breath work, really being still and quiet and getting out of your mind, and a lot of things that people have talked about for thousands and thousands of years. So I think that's a part of it, is to try to get yourself in that state where you're silencing your mind, or separating yourself from your mind as much as you can, which is kind of the core principle of meditating. But if you had to jump to just questions, which is a form as well, it's some of the ones we talked about, like what would I do if I wasn't afraid? What am I afraid of? How is fear playing into my life right now? There's a great Carl Jung quote: "Where your fear is, there is your task." Usually look at where something is holding you back that you're afraid of, and go into that and toward that thing. And then there's your work going to be in there, versus running away from it. A good question, just kind of using kind of your future self. Okay, I have this decision to make, going left or right. And right now I'm in the fog of war, and it's scary, and gosh, it's going to be really hard to go either direction. But stepping out and saying, okay, if your 10 years older version of yourself were to give you advice right now, like what would they want you to do? And so you're getting out of like the immediate fog of war. And a lot of times the answer is super clear. So those are all just a few questions or tools that might help.